Hello and welcome to another edition of The Big Key. Today we are talking to a young founder. She is the founder of Cosmotive. Her name is Blandine Muziranenge, and she'll be telling us more of what Cosmotive is all about, why she started it, and how it is helping the community. Thank you very much, Blandine, for making time to be with us, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Fiona, for inviting me.
Take us through Cosmotive. What is Cosmotive?
So Cosmotive is a social enterprise that focuses on improving maternal and child health in Rwanda. But recently we saw another challenge that we were like, this is more more urgent than what we were working on. So we added the menstrual health. So now we are focusing on menstrual health and maternal and child health. So far we have when we started, I started in 2014. I was into publishing, so I was trying to use the power of information to improve health.
What were you publishing? Books?
I was publishing a magazine called Cosmos Magazine. So this was online and digital and print. So with the magazine, the focus was just to give women information about their pregnancy, what to eat, how is the baby, how everything they need to know when they are pregnant for safe pregnancy, and also when they are breastfeeding, and trying to reduce that stress after mostly those new moms. So sustaining the magazine was not easy, mostly the printed one, when the audience doesn't like to read. So that's the time in 2015 I started working on a mobile app to try to cut that cost of printing every time and get something that is one cost, and the only other cost is for maintaining and updating. So this app is called Cosmo Health. It's an Android app. I started working on it and refining it, and it's mostly for pregnant women. They register, they put their week of pregnancy, and they get out messages 3 times a week about their pregnancy. So they get a message about their health, the baby's health, and what to do, and the sleeping positions, what to eat, and everything. So with this app, I ended up seeing that I'm serving the people who can afford the smartphone or the internet, or who can read. So that's the time I started to see how may I solve everyone. But this same time, there were other apps that are for USSD calls. So I was there are other people who are serving these people, so let me just focus on what I'm doing and try to to see where there will be the gap after I'm doing what I'm doing. So recently I saw that I can make a helpline for those who don't have access to to smartphones, but have access to other phones. So they can call. We want to make it a toll-free number so that they can call and get any advice that they want when they're pregnant or breastfeeding until that 1,000 days of the baby. So that's our target with that same thing about the increasing access to information. So after that, it was not that easy to sustain that business, if I can call it that way, because mostly it was relying on grants and some sponsorships. So on the other hand, I had a clothing line. So I just wanted to not be are you a tech girl? Are you a media girl? Are you a fashion girl? Because most of the time I could meet people, they want to look at me in the sector of what I'm doing. So this time I want, in 2017, I chose to shift from making any clothing to making clothing only for pregnant women and breastfeeding moms. So that clothing line is called Cadabra Collection.
Cadabra.
Yes. So this time it was Cosmos Magazine and Cadabra Collection and the Cosmo Health. So I wanted to have it as one brand. So that's the time I shifted from having the Cosmos into media to having Cosmos Creative and keeping the K on the Cadabra. So that's why the brand is Cosmotive as K on the name. So after that, I made those clothing for pregnant women and breastfeeding moms. All the digital platforms are for pregnant women and breastfeeding moms. It was easier for us to see the benefit in giving information and also getting those people who are getting our information into our customers. So after that, I was struggling to write. I was not good at writing. Even talking about my project, I could just say 2 words and I'm I'm done. So that's the time I joined a program called advanced digital change making. So it was about writing, like creative writing. So they told us to write about like the thing that affected us. So that's the easiest way to get more words. So I was supposed to write 1,500 words. So it was really hard for me. We got mentors. So this time I chose to write about like the struggles that adolescent girls face when they are getting their periods for the first time. So I was writing about it, about my struggles. So my mentor kept pushing me to add something like, what about other girls in Rwanda? What about like, how is it, like, what's like the reason why others are losing this, not having like, yes.
Yeah.
So this time I got the chance to see that there was a recent research in 2016 that was showing that it's 18% of girls or women who are missing school or work because they can't afford to buy menstrual pads. So with
18% of the women in the country.
Yes. With this number, I was like, oh, so we have been just making clothes. Yes, it's good. Like making clothing for pregnant women is good because they don't get that stress to look into every clothes or buy the extra large so that they can fit them, or the ones for breastfeeding. For me, it was like, why do we have to cover a baby every time they want to eat? But for us, we don't eat with a blanket. Why do we just? So that's the time I started with the breastfeeding clothing. But with the pads, I was like, this is an urgent thing. It's not about like choosing to buy this or to look in fashion so that you manage your menstrual hygiene or anything. So that's the time I was like, let me do something that is sustainable and something that can last longer and just be able to keep girls in school. And we had a workshop where we were making clothing, so that's the time I started the Cosmo pads, reusable sanitary pads in 2018.
Before we go to the sanitary towels, I want us to touch especially right now on the maternal health bit, right? Do you work with doctors? You know, is your application in Kenya, Rwanda? You know, how affordable can you then make it so that everyone can be able to access it?
So with all the things about it, like the digital things are free. Like we say that we use a freemium model. For the beneficiaries, it's free. Like for anyone who has a device or who has access to it. But we only sell like sports for people who want like us to put their content or just advise all those things. And the app is in Kenya, Rwanda, because I was targeting like the Rwandan market, and there is a lot of information in English or any other languages on Google where they can get information. I wanted to put it in the local, like they customize it in our context, and also use the same, like the same package that are used by the Ministry of Health when they are in their antenatal care visits. So that's how it is. And also affording it's just having that device. If you have an Android app, you can download it. It's called Cosmo Health. It's on Google, like the Google Play Store. And for the other platforms, like our platform is like cosmotive.rw, we put all like the blogs about like maternal and child health, about menstrual health, about like child development, all those things. And we also we started also a forum for like women to discuss about either their challenges, their experience. So it's a free thing to access. Anyone can access it. We just get that community. They access the information, and they also see that we have these products for them. So that's how we balance the two.
So as a developer, how would you say that your community has grown? Because I'm sure when you have an application, you have people asking questions, you know, we have women talking to one another, you know, chatting on that platform. How big is your community today?
So far we have more than 3,000 like followers, people who are like interacting with us both on the social media and on the platform. I don't just put like those, like when you see the views, sometimes there's someone who came yesterday and they are coming back today. So I'm just trying to see the unique users that we have. There are more than 3,000.
But Blandine, how easy then was it for you to actually develop an application? Because I'm sure it's not easy. But for you to actually think that you can merge fashion and technology and merge it to help the mothers, you know, and the women and the girl child to understand their bodies and what they're going through in the day-to-day basis? How did you come up with it?
Mostly, I think it's because of my educational background. I did information technology in my diploma, and when I was completing my degree, I did business and information and communication technology. And both of my all my internships were in media. I was doing IT here, I think. So I have been in IT, but on media. So my friends were mostly in media pattern, but my background was in IT first, but I also added the business side. So at the end, I was like, what can I do? I don't want to drop IT. I don't want to drop business. I also don't want to drop all this time that I have been just, being in media. The fashion was aside. It was just something that I do for a living. So after that, my passion was really into parent-child relationships. So that was my passion. So I was like, what can I do to do something on what I want? So that's the time I decided to use what I had. The first website, I developed it myself. That's the time I was still into IT. That time I was into it, but now I'm not into tech that much. I'm into a lot of things that I can't sit on, developing an app or a web or everything. I can just be into that on the design side and other things, but I'm not still developing this time. But it was easier for me to understand the tech side of the thing and also the business side of the thing. Having a community of my friends in media, it was easy for them to advise me on what to do, about giving information or interacting with the audience. On the fashion, it was because it's my passion, and so I had to go to learn how to sew and to make colors in textile, all those things. It was because it was my passion. And on the other hand, I'm so passionate about this, increasing information to improve the maternal child health, but it's more social, that it's not something that you can say it will sustain itself. So that's the time I put my efforts into the manufacturing, so that it can be balancing both the business and the social impact. Yeah.
Absolutely. We're talking about the impact, but it's one thing to have an idea. It's another thing to grow it. Most people tend to have ideas and tend to leave them for a very long time, hoping to get grants, hoping to get funds. Did you have a startup, did you have a grant immediately when you had your idea? How did you go through the process?
When I had my idea, I think I had this negotiation talent, because I didn't know how to go, but I was feeling like I want to do this. So this time I approached my sister. I was like, can you just lend me money? I will get advert on the second edition of my magazine. So I didn't get it. Even on the third, I didn't get it. But after publishing the third edition, I got into a fellowship in Nairobi, where we had to go there every other month, and they trained us about social entrepreneurship. It was my first time to learn about that, because before I was doing something, and everyone into free for profit. They were like, why? That's NGO, it's not business. So that's the time I was introduced to do something that is having a social impact, but it's business. So with that program, they were giving us stipend to stay in business so that we don't drop, and also giving us a grant. So that was 2015. But as I was growing, I got 2017, I got the Tony Elmiro Foundation program. Their grant was it was big. That time for me, it was big. And after that, I kept just going into the programs where I get the information and also the connection. Because that time I was I don't think that I only need money. I also need these connections and the network, growing my network. So that's even the time that I was introduced into all these ITC programs. So I started with the Mitreki. After that, I got into the Fast Track Tech. So it has been good, because it's into for the Fast Track Tech, they are focusing on these businesses in using tech but having an impact. And this year has been like a chance for those who are using tech for health. So I got that chance to get into different programs, to go into conferences where we had to meet investors. So I got in touch with different investors or other people who are into like fundraising money for startups. And also from that, I got the chance to have this exposure when I won the Youth Connect Africa Awards as a Girls in Innovation. So this was the PADS project. And after that, that was last year, and a month after, I got another prize for women's empowerment by the Invest to Impact Africa. So all those are like prize money, and the grants are, they have been pushing me, getting me the exposure and also the experience in their programs. And also this year, when the pandemic was hitting us, I also got another grant from the USAIDF. So it was a big thing for me because I didn't have to struggle or to have to terminate the contracts for some of the employees, or also to close my doors. So it was a good input for our resilience throughout this year. So
so you kept pushing. It was opportunity after opportunity after opportunity.
Yeah, it was opportunity, and it kept us to stay positive. Because like during the lockdown, most of the people, like some of the staff got like kind of depression or uncertainty, thinking that maybe we will close because we are into manufacturing. So most of like the income are from manufacturing, but we got the chance to get grants because there were a lot of like grants supporting those who are making an impact but are almost closing. So we got these grants, both the USAIDF and the Entrepreneurs. So these grants kept us like working, and by the time that the girls or everyone got back to school, because for us we are looking at girls going back to school, so that's the time most of NGOs came back to make their orders. So we had the whole year producing, so now they are making orders. Buying. So for us, it's our time to smile. So yeah.
Absolutely. Take a short break, but of course when we come back, we're now diving into the menstrual health bit of it and what Cosmotive is doing to ensure that the girls and the women are kept in school and are also comfortable in what they're doing back at home. Do keep it the big Q.
Kuva iki cyorezo cya COVID-19 cyatangira, leta y'u Rwanda yashyizemo ingamba nyinshi zo kukirwanya. Ariko uruhare runini ruri kuri twebwe. Mu byo badusabye harimo kwambara agapfukamunwa. Agapfukamunwa karabangama, murabona ko ngira amatwi yabaye. Ariko iyo watewe uririnda. Rubyiruko. Kwambara nabi agapfukamunwa bigushyira mu kaga ko kwandura cyangwa se ukanduza abandi mu gihe waba waranduye wowe utabizi. Njye nahisemo kwambara agapfukamunwa neza igihe cyose ndi mu bandi. Kambare neza nawe tuzatsinda.
Welcome back, and thank you very much for keeping it the big Q. I'm still talking to Blandine Muziranenge. Of course, she is the founder of Cosmotive, and she's been telling us what Cosmotive has been doing to try and not only enrich the women but also the girl child who is already back in school. Blandine, before we took a short break, of course, you're telling us of some the importance, rather, of the synergies that you're getting from the grants and some of the organizations that have made sure that even through COVID, the businesses were still standing. So take us through now the sanitary towels that you're making for the girls. When did you bring in the sanitary towels into your company, and how did you come up with the idea?
Yeah, I if I start with the idea, this was 2017 when I was trying to increase my skills into writing, and I was into this just for writing for the maternal and child health information. It wasn't about the menstrual hygiene or anything. So as I was writing, I was told, I was advised to write about something that happened to me. So because I could feel how I could remember how it felt for me, not having a period when I want to go to school, or just for different reasons. When I found out that it's 18% of girls or women who are missing work or school, I was like, if it's all like this big number of like women who are missing school, if it's this big number of girls who are not just going to school when they're having their periods, there is one thing of not getting a pad when you're having your periods. There's another thing of like days before your periods, days after your periods. It's not just only during your periods that you get that stress, or even like the way the performance can decrease when you're having that issue. So that's why, like, it was 2017. The whole time I was into like raising awareness about the issue. So at the end of the program, I was wondering what I can do. Like, do I have to fundraise the pads and give to girls? What will I give them next month? What will I do next? Like,
absolutely,
how sustainable is this thing that I'm doing? I'm going to leave my like maternal thing to go into fundraising for pads. So I was wondering about like, what can I do that can be sustainable in one way or another. So that's the time I was doing the research about other developing countries, what they do, how sustainable they are, like their menstrual hygiene management. So I found out that like most of these developing countries are shifting to reusable sanitary pads. So I was looking into materials, what's the safe material for this, what are like these more absorbent in like all the aspects of like making a reusable sanitary pads. So I started in 2018 with the first samples of our pads. So just keeping the same brand, I called them Cosmo pads. So when I was starting, I got the chance, same from the ITC, the International Trade Center. They gave me the chance to go to China for a program. So this time I made the factory where I can get all these materials. So the materials that we use, we chose to use like the three layers. So the upper layer that is on the body is absorbent, but also soft, and it's breathable, and it keeps dry when they get like when the periods go into it. So we put another layer inside that is more absorbent. This time, like, its function is only for absorbing the blood. So with this one, we use the Zorb, any Zorb material that can just absorb more than other materials. And after that, because yes, like the two layers can absorb, but there's sometimes like this wet side when it's full, like when it's just full or after a long time. So we put another laminated material that is waterproof, and we end up with interlocking so that it can look nice just for the like nice side. But the 3 layers are enough for like absorbing even more than the disposable pads that are on the market. And also having them, if I go back to like to the girls who had these pads before the lockdown, they were like, I couldn't imagine how like this lockdown could happen if I don't have pads, because I used to get pads from like there's an NGO that is giving them pads, so this time they couldn't meet. So that's like, for them it was our time to feel it really, like not just giving them when they're at school or when they can interact with others or when they can get it from their neighbor or anyone. So this time it was for them to feel like I felt more safer when I had a pad, having my periods like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. So this time it was a good testimony from them. And also about like why I did this, I was feeling like all the other things, I feel like we have those alternatives, like, but for the pads, the only solution that we have is these disposable pads. On their side, they're expensive. For all the time that they have been here, like the girls didn't be able to afford them. So it was that solution that is there, but it's not like that much for them. So if we look back and we're like, yeah, we have this solution, this 18% we keep missing school, and as they're missing school, that's the time they end up maybe feeling like, this is not my thing. They drop out of school, or they get pregnant because they're like, I try to get money to buy pads. So they end up getting pregnant. They end up, it's a lot of things happening, and also most of them using these bags or piece of mattress or anything, they get these infections, and these infections are the one that are making them most of the time not to become, like, not giving birth at the end. So it's something that starts as like someone doesn't want to talk about it because all this shame around it. But at the end, the consequences are this big that someone doesn't even realize it started with the menstrual hygiene issue.
Absolutely. How long or how many packs can one use of the reusable pads, and how safe, you know, can how, you know, I'm thinking of terms of sanitary because it's something that people dispose, right? But this time around you can wash it and reuse it again, right? So how many times can one use this in a year or in 2 years? Do they have expiry date? How does it work?
Yes, we make a package of 5. We put like 5 pairs, and these 5 pairs, like a girl or a woman can use it in like their cycle of menstruation, and after using them, they wash it. So we give them all the instructions that they need to use it. So for me, I chose to use the same materials that are certified on the East African level, so that I'd be sure that they are safe. Because for me, it wasn't about business; it was about just ending this, like ending the period poverty. So I chose to use these materials. They were more expensive than the local materials, but they are safer than the one that we have here. So after this, they are more absorbent than the disposable pads. That's one thing about like everyone who has been using it, and they are comfortable because they are like they are breathable. It's like wearing in an underwear. It's like for the one who used it, you don't feel it the same way you feel the disposable pads. So that's one thing about it. And also that comfort of having something, like if it's for girls, when there's a certification, they choose to give it like for more than a year, but a girl can use it for like 2 years when they follow all the regulations that we put, because we give them the manual guide about how to use them. And like if suppose like a guy is going to school with this pack, like if they have our package, they go to school with like the pad that they are wearing, and another pads in the wet bag that we put in the package. And in their break, like their lunch break, they can change the pad and put the used pads. They fold it and put it in the wet bag, and when they go back home, they still have the 3 pads. So they wash the 2 pads and they wear the night pad. And at the like in the morning, those 2 pads are dry, or even if they are not dry, they still have the 2 pads that they can use that day. So that's how they alternate them, and they can use them for more than a year. So for us, it was a chance to see girls going to school for the whole year without just going by to that stress, like before, during, and after the periods. For us, it was mostly that thing.
We've talked about expenses and how, you know, probably expensive it could be for people to afford sanitary towels. We are at a time where we've seen parliamentarians say that the VAT should be reduced. Do you think this is enough? Can we push for more? Can the distributors, the people who are making the pads, can you make them easier and cheaper for people to afford, since the VAT is already being, you know, been reduced?
So like for us, the difference is I appreciated the fact that they reduced the VAT, though it's still hard. Like we are talking about those who can't really afford. And if you think about this family of, like a family of 6 women and girls, like 6, if they are not even, if like in the whole month they will need to use like 6,000 for the menstrual hygiene. Most of the time, this issue of like food versus pads, they choose to buy food. So it's about that, and just about having something that is not for one time, and something that is not like every month I have to buy this. If there is an opportunity to have something that can last longer, and it's not only about for like us making pads, we are also into like mobilizing also girls to know how to make their own pads, like just for them to see the solution in their hands. Also, like coming to work with us is, for us, it's more about like talking about this issue that has been like a taboo, and getting that knowledge to know how to make pads, getting that chance to make pads and get money. So for us, we feel like as they are making pads and getting money from making pads, they return to see their periods as a source of pride and power. They will forget that thing about like shame around pads. They start feeling like, oh, pads is like, or periods is something that where I can do something and get money. So it's kind of shifting the narrative, and also mobilize boys like to shift from being like bullying their sisters or their like the girls in their classes or in their school to allying with them. So for us, it's more about like shifting all these things, and also the safe side of it is like, for us, I'll be talking about our materials. It's because they are tested and they are certified on the other level, though we don't have this. But like this VAT on the pads doesn't become applicable to us, because for us we import the materials, we don't import the pads. So we try to make it like, we try to reduce all the costs as we can. Like with all the grants, I got the chance to import more materials. So for me, it becomes cheaper. And with the schools, we're trying to see how we can give the pads, and the school leaders can collect the money like every month, so they can give us the money at the end of the year. And we also push the NGOs and other people who have these goals in their focus, and also menstrual hygiene or just women's health in their focus, to buy for them, because it's not, yes, it's sustainable, it's cost effective, because it's something that someone can use in the place where they could use 24 packages of disposable pads. But we recognize that it's not that easy for someone who doesn't have this 1,000 to have 5,000. We recognize it, and we try to subsidize all the ways of paying for this. But the most needed thing is just getting pads. So it's a good step to remove the VAT, but the better will be just giving them for free. So just allowing girls or women to have this for free, because it's like periods is a natural thing. It's also the fun thing is that when you don't get it, you start like worrying about, oh, am I like healthier? Or so it's something that we should be proud of, and it's something that turns a girl into a woman. So it's something that shouldn't be left out in all the things that they try to cover or to make easier for people to access.
As we sum up, Blandine, we have the young people seated at home, probably have ideas like you. We have the young people who say, it's not my thing, I'd rather sit at home or be employed, than finding solutions that can help, the community in one way or another. Then what would be a word to them, for those who, who really need that encouragement to move out of their box and think big, and, how and where do they start from? Just like you did, how did you start from?
I think like for everyone, I'll give them a challenge of thinking about something, either something that makes them mad when it's not done well, or something that makes them happier when it's done well. So with those two things, they can be able to stay resilient whether it's working or not. So as you keep pushing, as you keep your resilience around something that you're doing, you end up just getting like creative ways or innovative ways to stay into that, or bring something that if what's not working is the market or the product, you get the courage to know about it. So the first thing is just like scanning themselves and see, do I want to work for myself or work for others? It's both good. Like if you're good to work for others, it's good. If you want to work for yourself, it's mostly about just doing something that you're really passionate about. Whether it's making you happy or mad, I don't know, but having that passion about what you're doing, and also having the courage to not quit When you know how bad it is to lose the thing that you're trying to solve, you don't quit. So that's what I encourage everyone.
Did you reach a point where you wanted to give up and close your doors and go back to the IT tech that you're supposed to be, the tech guru that you're supposed to be?
Yeah, there was a time I wanted to quit. So this time I was like, I feel like the outside world is getting like bigger on me. So I took a break. I went for my postgrad into like social innovation management. So this is the time I met a mentor who was like, why did you start? I was like, there's a time I almost lost my voice because of this issue of parenting things. So he was like, every time you, like, if you close, every day you will know that there's another girl who is losing her voice or another child who is losing their voice. So that's the time I was like, no, I'm not quitting. So I have to work on the things that I can control, because that time it was the things that I can't control that were making me mad, like going to get an advert and someone is like, but you look good, you're young. How can you, like, so that thing, I was always like, I won't change my size, I won't change anything. So I feel like I'm quitting, I'm going. So he was like, just focus on the things that you can control. Build your confidence. Just learn everything that you have to learn for you to convince them, but you won't change them. So for me, that's the thing that made me feel like I have to still, like, to see the impact that I have to create, and also to remember the reason why I started. So that's the time I keep working. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Blandine, for making time to be with us.
Thank you.
Well, as usual, my name is Fiona Mbawasi, and thank you very much for joining us. Keep suggesting who you want to see on the show. And like Blandine just said, do not give up on your dreams. Keep pushing. And who knows where you'll be tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.